Okay, so our first stop, it's actually pretty recent. This is well within living memory for most of us, for sure. We're talking February 11th, 2013. Just a totally normal Monday afternoon in Great Falls, Montana.
So, over on station KRTV, people were watching the Steve Wilkos show. You know the type, right? Classic daytime television, totally predictable, kind of routine. It's the kind of show that just fills the air while you're doing other things in the afternoon. Well, that routine was about to get completely shattered.
And just like that, poof, the show is gone. In its place, those familiar, and let's be honest, pretty grating tones of the emergency alert system. But the message that came through, it was anything but familiar. The synthetic, robotic voice delivered this absolutely chilling warning. The bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. And it didn't just say it once, it repeated it, even telling people not to approach the bodies because they were, quote, extremely dangerous. Can you even imagine the sheer confusion, the panic, hearing that coming from a source you're supposed to trust?
And this wasn't just some one-off thing. Oh no, the hijacking started to spread. A little over an hour later, all the way over in Michigan and Wisconsin, the exact same alert cuts right into an episode of, get this, Barney and Friends. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. One minute you've got the friendly purple dinosaur singing a song, and the next, you're getting a full-blown warning about a zombie apocalypse. And then it hits a PBS station in New Mexico. This was no random glitch. This was a coordinated, multi-state hoax.
You can bet the phones at local police stations and TV stations were just ringing off the hook. They were completely inundated. Everyone scrambled to get on the air, to issue statements, trying to get a handle on the spreading panic. It's a fake! It's a hack! But, you know, the damage was already done. What this whole incident really did was expose this terrifying vulnerability. The idea that the very systems built to save us in a real crisis could be twisted and used as tools for chaos and fear.
So, a zombie warning is pretty strange, right? But believe it or not, it had an even more chaotic and frankly more iconic predecessor. And to find that one, we've got to jump in the time machine and go back to the 1980s, back to the golden age of analog TV.
The city? Chicago, Illinois. The date? November 22nd, 1987. And this night would go down in history as the single most infamous broadcast hijacking ever. A piece of pure pirate television that, get this, remains completely unsolved to this very day.
Okay, so the attack happened in two ways. The first one hit WGN-TV, right during the 9 o'clock news. It was super brief, just 17 seconds, and silent. All you saw was this figure wearing a Max Headroom mask, just kind of rocking back and forth in front of this corrugated metal backdrop, with this loud buzzing sound. It was weird, but that was just the warm-up act. The real show, the main event, that came about 2 hours later over on the local PBS station, WTTW.
And this time? Oh, this time there was sound. And it was distorted, it was manic, it was just utterly bizarre. The figure in the Max Headroom mask is back, and he launches into this really strange monologue. And the first thing he does is insult a WGN sportscaster, a guy named Chuck Swirsky. Now that's a detail that's so specific, right? It really suggests that the hijacker was a local, someone who was literally watching the very news broadcast they had just taken over.
What came next was just this cascade of bizarre stream of consciousness nonsense. I mean, the figure holds up a Pepsi can, but he's mockingly saying Coke's slogan, "Catch the wave." Then he starts humming the theme song to this old cartoon, Clutch Cargo. He makes this weird, garbled reference to WGN's own slogan, you know, the world's greatest newspaper thing. And the whole thing just builds to this genuinely shocking and, let's be real, super juvenile climax where an accomplice, who you can just barely see is wearing a maid's costume, spanks his exposed butt with a fly swatter. And then, just as suddenly as it all started, it was over, leaving thousands of Doctor Who fans sitting there just completely and utterly bewildered.
So if the Max Headroom thing was this burst of anarchic, weird comedy, our next case is something else entirely. The tone here shifts completely. We're going to go back another decade to a hijacking that was strangely calm, very collected, and honestly, deeply unnerving.
This time, we're in southern England, and during the evening news on a channel called Southern Television, the broadcast gets interrupted, but not by some guy in a mask. No, this time, it was just a voice, a disembodied voice.
For almost 6 full minutes, this slow, distorted electronic voice just completely takes over the audio feed. Now, the weird part is the picture of the news anchor, it stays on screen the whole time, but the voice that's speaking,
claims to be an extraterrestrial. His name? Vrillon. And he says he's a representative of something called the Ashtar Galactic Command.
And this message wasn't a joke, it wasn't a prank. It was delivered like a solemn warning. Vrillon told all of humanity that we needed to abandon our weapons of evil and get ready for a coming new age of Aquarius. So you've got this message of peace, but it's delivered like a cosmic threat. It was literally an alien voice hijacking that trusted little box in everybody's living room.
Okay, so we've got zombies, we've got bizarre pranksters, we've even got aliens. But the really crucial question here is how? How does this even happen? How can somebody just take over a television broadcast? Well, the answer is kind of both technically complex and, at the same time, unsettlingly simple.
The technical term for this is Broadcast Signal Intrusion. See, back in the analog days, TV stations would usually send their signal from the studio to a big transmitter, on a tall building or a tower, using a microwave link. Now, if a hijacker could get themselves into the line of sight of that receiver, they could just blast their own, more powerful signal right at it and basically overwhelm the station's feed. So yeah, it's essentially like shouting louder than the person who's supposed to be talking. Now, it definitely required some serious technical know-how and some pretty powerful equipment. But as the Max Headroom incident proved, it was absolutely possible to do.
But what's really fascinating about those more recent 2013 hacks, the zombie ones, is how they got in, how that door was unlocked. Investigators figured out that the hijackers most likely got access for a ridiculously simple reason. The stations never bothered to change the factory default passwords on their emergency alert gear. And guess where you could find those passwords? Yep, listed right in the user manuals, which were available online for anyone to see. A high-tech crime pulled off because of a totally low-tech and preventable mistake.
So these real-world events, these cracks in the facade of the media we're all supposed to trust, they haven't been forgotten. Not at all. In fact, they've gone on to inspire a whole new genre of horror that's perfect for the digital age: analog horror.
Probably the most famous example of this is Chris Straub's totally brilliant YouTube series, Local 58. If you haven't seen it, it's presented as these snippets of found footage from a fictional public access channel in West Virginia. And this poor channel is just constantly being hijacked by, well, some kind of malevolent, unknown force. It absolutely nails that unsettling, lo-fi, grainy aesthetic of old TV broadcasts.
And you can draw a perfectly straight line from these real events we've talked about straight to this fiction. I mean, that 2013 zombie alert, it honestly feels like it could have been a script for a Local 58 episode. In one of its most famous installments, Weather Service, a normal-looking weather alert gets slowly corrupted. It twists from a simple warning into this terrifying command for everyone to go outside and look at the moon. It's the exact same principle we've been seeing, taking a trusted signal and weaponizing it, turning it into a source of pure dread.
And that is the absolute core of analog horror. It taps directly into the fears that these real-world hijackings first exposed. The fear that our safety systems can be turned against us. The fear that the information we trust could actually be a lie. And maybe the biggest fear of all, that something truly terrifying can invade the safety of our own homes through the very technology that's supposed to connect and protect us.
Which, brings us right back to the central mystery of it all. Because these intrusions, they're more than just technical oddities, right? They're more than just weird historical footnotes. They are unsolved crimes that leave behind these deeply, deeply unsettling questions.
I mean, who was that behind the Max Headroom mask? Was it some disgruntled employee from the TV station? A group of early cyberpunk hackers just testing their skills? Maybe some kind of weird performance artist? Despite a full-blown FBI investigation and literally decades of internet sleuthing, we still have absolutely no idea.
And maybe the even more chilling question is, how did they get away with it? I mean, to pull off a hijack of that scale and then to just vanish into thin air, that in and of itself is a pretty remarkable and frankly frightening accomplishment. The people who did this have remained total ghosts in the machine. In the end, that's what these signal intrusions really do. They prey on a fundamental modern fear. They're a reminder that the static you hear between channels, that digital noise in our lives, isn't always empty. Sometimes there are other signals just waiting for their chance to break through. The hijackers, whether they were just pranksters or artists or something else entirely, they were never caught. They're still out there, ghosts in the machine, a constant reminder that the screens we trust can be turned into windows for pure chaos. And, as that haunting final message from Local 58 puts it, when the next signal arrives, you won't be watching it alone.
The broadcast will make sure we all see it, together.